Hi everyone and welcome to Epic Academy. My name is Jamie and today we are going to be making one of my most favorite meals in the whole wide world. We're actually going to make something called falafel. If you're unfamiliar with falafel, it's a meal found in the Middle East or in the Mediterranean, and the stars of the show are chickpeas or garbanzo beans, whatever you want to call them, and parsley. This is just flat leaf parsley ready to go. So I actually have already prepared most of the ingredients for today because I didn't want it to be a situation where you're just watching me chop. So in terms of parsley, this is what it looks like when it's fresh and new. It comes in a big bunch. Costs like $1.25, $1.50, depending on where you're getting it. And what you do to prepare it is you just pick off the leaves. You'll see me over here putting them in a colander in the sink. Doesn't have to be super perfect. You can have a little stem in there. It's not going to hurt anything. Who knew you could cook with parsley? We thought it was just for decorating our plates at fancy restaurants. So you're going to throw away this stalk, and the leaves are going to go in something like this, some sort of thin, fine colander. You'll rinse those off just because you want to make sure there's no dirt in there. Sorry, I disappeared for a second. There's no dirt in there, but also we want to make sure, especially in today's climate, that there are no germies on there that we don't want. So I'm just going to add these to my paper towel and dry them off. Now, I said that this could be a little bit of a time-consuming step, and that's true, but it's also a really, really, really great step for little hands. They can certainly peel off these little leaves and throw away the stems, and that's awesome. So you'll take a bunch of parsley. Next up, I have just a can of drained and rinsed garbanzo beans. They're kind of the star of the show. And there, what you can't see over here, ta-da, is my handy dandy food processor. Now, if you didn't have a food processor, that's fine. You'll just have to mash these up with a fork or like a mashed potato masher or something that mashes and get it kind of thin and pasty. And you would have to chop the parsley super, super fine, and that's fine. I didn't always have a handy dandy food processor, and I did it the old fashioned way. It just took a little bit more time, but certainly is doable. So I've added those to my food processor, and now I'm gonna add in my bunches of parsley, my big bunch of parsley. Ta-da! Almost there. Get this last little leafy guy. It's so green and so pretty. And then the other thing you need for this recipe is just one roughly chopped yellow onion, small-ish to medium size, nothing too big. I'm going to peel this guy out. He has a little sad spot on him that we don't want. Here he goes. Dump that in, and again, because I'm using the food processor, it's just roughly cut. Nothing fancy, no hard chopping. I'm going to put that away. Next up, this is a mixture of cumin and salt, 1.5 teaspoons of each. Coriander and black pepper, 1 teaspoon of each. And then there is 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in here, and then 1/8 of cayenne pepper. If you do not like things spicy, you do not have to use the cayenne. And if you like it a little bit more spicy, you could go up to 1/4 teaspoon, but we're sort of middle of the road folks here. My husband would maybe like it spicier, but I do not. So I'm going to add that in to my food processor over here. Next up is garlic. Who doesn't love garlic? So it calls for 5 cloves of garlic minced up, but I just use this paste that I cheat and buy at the store, and about a tablespoon is what you would get if you were finely mincing up the garlic. Maybe a teensy bit more. Who doesn't like garlic, right? Perfect. And then I'm going to use the other side of this because it calls for roughly 2 tablespoons of flour. Now I have white whole wheat flour here. And what I'll say is, depending on how much moisture is in your parsley that's left over and how much moisture was still in your garbanzo beans, when we're done, we might need to add more flour. So sort of hang out with that. I'm actually going to wipe off my garlicky end so it doesn't get garlic paste everywhere. And I'm just going to stick this flour side down in my little canister and leave that for a second in case I need some more. And our last ingredient, get my garlic out of the way here, is just some lemon juice. My lemon juice has seen better days. Must have gotten something or other. So just a teaspoon of lemon juice goes in here. Brilliant. So now we are to the fun part. And again, if we're talking about involving kids in cooking, what we've done in terms of measuring definitely counts as STEM, right? Where it's science and math. There's some chemistry going on here and some math going on here. Also helps with fine motor skills. If they're reading the recipe, it helps with literacy. And cooking is a life skill. We want our children to grow up and to be able to fend for themselves and cook healthy, nutritious meals. So this is going to be loud. Hold 1 second for me. Awesome. So that did it. I think we're probably good. And so our mixture, take this little fancy guy off, is going to look like this, right? Sort of green, sort of yellow. You won't necessarily see the onions or anything in there, but you'll notice it's sort of this green yellow color. I'm actually going to do it for another second because I think I see just a few too many parsley chunks in there, and we don't want that. A little smoother now. Stop with here, perfect. So this is what your mixture is going to look like. Ta-da! Ta-da, ta-da. So where we go from here is we sort of finish this up in one of 3 ways, and I'm not necessarily going to take you through those all in person because they would be really hard to film when you're by yourself. So if the dough feels a little too wet, and this actually does, mixture, maybe it's not dough, you might want to add just a little bit more flour, which I am going to do. I'm going to sprinkle in another 2-ish tablespoons of this. And I'm going to take it off of its fancy dye. I'm going to grab a spoon and just kind of mix it up in here. We don't need to go anyplace fancy. We do not need to dirty a separate dish for this. That is unnecessary, right? Stir, stir, stir. So in the Middle East, this is something that's eaten for breakfast. So let me tell you how you're going to eat your falafel while I'm stirring and getting it to the right consistency. It's going to need a little more flour. Like I said, this is not an exact science part of things because your garbanzo beans might be a little liquidy, or you might not have wrung out all of the moisture from the parsley. Probably I did both. So anywhere from 2 to 8 tablespoons of flour is what the recipe calls for. So we're only on 6. We're doing well. Okay. So what you're going to do with this mixture, there we go, is you're going to form it into either a ball, see, like sort of a rough meatball sized ball, and you're going to fry it either in a little bit of oil in a pan or in a deep fryer. If you're using oil in a pan, you're going to kind of flip the sides around, right, to make sure the whole thing gets golden and crispy. And if you're using a deep fryer, you're going to submerge it for about 3 minutes and then test it. And this is another spot where if it's not sort of consistent enough, if it's not solid enough, it'll just dissolve in the oil. So you really want to make sure it stays together by itself. If you would like to not fry things, which is totally appropriate, you can make those little balls, spray a muffin tin down with a little nonstick spray, and put the little balls in each of the little individual compartments and pop it in the oven at 350 for between 20 and 25 minutes, just until they're sort of golden brown and they're a little crispy on the outside and kind of soft and warm in the middle. And the last way, and the way that I'm going to do it tonight, is I'm going to make a big patty and I'm going to put it in a frying pan with just some nonstick spray, and I am going to make it like a burger, and I'm going to put it on a bun with some garlic sauce and some red onion and some pickles and eat it like a falafel burger. If you are doing the smaller little balls or patties, you can put them on a salad and top it with Italian dressing and some tomatoes and onions and cucumbers and greens. And if you are The other way to do it is to eat it like in a wrap, like pita bread or some sort of yummy wrap. Same thing with your favorite sauce. We like garlic sauce, some pickles if you like them, onions, tomatoes, cucumbers, greens. Really, the sky is the limit. But it is a high protein, healthy meal, and it's super, super tasty. And if you've tuned into any of the other videos, you'll know that I like things that you can make ahead or freeze. You'll also know that I like things that are inexpensive. So this is inexpensive. And once your falafel is cooked, whether it's deep fried, pan fried, sort of burger fried, if you will, or baked, you can throw those in the freezer for up to 6 months to a year, just in an airtight container or bag. You can pull them out, thaw them in the oven, sort of get them up to about 350 and make sure that they get nice and unthawed and crispy again, and go from there. So I hope that you enjoyed our sort of chat about falafel. It's super tasty, and this is what's for dinner tonight. So if you want any more information on Epic or any other recipes are fun, don't forget to visit epicforchildren.org. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great night.